Okay. So it seems like we're live. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Maria, and I'm going to be your host. I'm from Portugal. I'm at our office in Porto, and I'm seeing that we already have some people here saying where they're from. So it seems like we're live. That's nice. So we have some people from Portugal as well. Cool. Also some people from Bulgaria. We also have an office there. Someone from Ukraine. Oh, that's nice. So I would like to see where you guys are in the chat before we start with the presentations because we're still waiting for some people to come and join us. More people from Porto. We usually always have a lot of people from Porto, which is nice. We have an office there, so I would say it's pretty common. And both of our speakers are from, well, not from, but they're in Porto right now. Ramazan is from Devexperts, is at our office here, and also Luís. He is the co-founder of Frontend of Porto. So yeah, a lot of people from Portugal here. Serbia, Tbilisi. Oh, Vietnam. That's nice. I think it's the first time that we've had someone from Vietnam in our talks, at least that I know about. So that's pretty cool. Okay, nice to know where everyone is from. You can keep writing in the chat where you are. I will start introducing our speakers for today and just talk a little bit about dxTech Talks. So, dxTech Talks are a series of free tech meetups that we organize. Devexperts is an international fintech company that specializes in the development of financial software solutions and services for all of the global capital markets industry. We were founded in 2002, and our company has R&D centers in Jersey City, in Porto, Vilnius, Munich, Dublin, Tbilisi, Sofia, Istanbul, and I hope I'm not forgetting any. But yeah, I think that's it. We launched this project, dxTech Talks, to be more in touch with our tech community, to share our expertise in fintech and discuss some of our projects, the technologies we use, the tools that we're using. And we have these communities online, but we also have communities in Porto, Sofia, and Tbilisi, and we organize in-person dxTech Talks there. So if you want to stay up to date with our events, not just the ones online, but also the ones in person, you can follow us on social media. We post everything on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, also on Meetup and Eventbrite. So you can just follow us and stay in touch and always know what events we have coming up. We announce everything on these corporate profiles and also Meetup and Eventbrite. Okay, to the part that everyone is here for, we have two programs today, two tech talks. They're around 20 minutes each, maybe 25 at most. And at the end, we always have a Q&A session. So feel free to ask your questions in the chat. I will read them to our speakers, and they will just answer all of your questions. So I will now introduce our first speaker, which is Ramazan. Ramazan is a front-end engineer with 4 years of experience in JavaScript and TypeScript, and he has worked on several complex user-facing applications in fintech and entertainment, and he focuses on front-end architecture and design systems. He likes contributing to open source and exploring new areas across the stack. And today he's going to tell us all about JWT tokens. So, Ramazan, welcome to the stage.
Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen. Just a sec. So I hope you can see my screen now.
We can see, yeah, now we can see our presentation.
Okay. So hello once again. This is my first time I'm speaking. So hope everything goes well. So today I'll be speaking about the security in web, how JWT tokens work, and some best practices and some things to avoid. So let's start. A little bit about myself. My name is Ramazan. I am a front-end developer. I've been working here for 4 years. I enjoyed the code. Also, I love surfing. Yes, it is broken, but still, don't look at it. Today, what you'll know about JWT tokens, how they work under the hood, and what the user doesn't see when he tries to log into some systems. Also, I'll tell you about some best practices and some pitfalls you can fall into. So let's start. In my today's implementation, I have used the Solid.js for frontend, and the backend it is written in Nest.js, basically Node.js. But to be honest, it doesn't matter what stack you're using because you have to understand the implementation and general approach, and you can use it and apply it to any stack. So the big picture, what user sees. When the user tries to enter some website, he just enters the email and the password, press login button, and that's it. He doesn't see anything else. He just logs in if everything is correct. But now let's go through and understand how things are developed and implemented under the hood. So what is actually going on? First of all, user presses the login button after he entered the credentials. The email and the password goes to the backend side. And some methods on the backend side, they check the validity of those credentials. So first of all, we are looking up for the user in our database. If the user is found, we proceed to the next step. And the next step is to compare the password in the database. But the crucial step here is the password is hashed, and you have to use some appropriate libraries to compare it. So the hash password and the plain raw text. And everything is good. The server just approves, and we're moving to the next step. And the next step is generation of tokens. In this approach, we are generating 2 tokens. The first one is access token, and the second one is refresh token. Let's talk about each of them in a bit more details. So these tokens are generated based on different things. So first of all, the access token in general, it is some data of the user. So later on, the server can identify the user, also the expiration time, so how long the token is valid for, and some secret key. The secret key depends on the encryption method you're using, and I will dive a bit deeper into it later. And the refresh token is kind of the similar way, but refresh token is used for generating new access token when access token is invalidated. Because the difference between these two, that the access token lives really short time, and this is actually a good practice, and it is good for security because access token is stored on the front end, and anything stored on the front end is less secure than on the server. So you have to keep it short-lived. And the refresh token can have a longer life, but it also has some details about it. So let's go further. When we have generated the access token, we are sending it to the browser. And why we're doing that? Before I told you that we are generating the access token based on some user data. And one thing to do here is not to put any sensitive data in the token because anyone that has the token can decode it and read the information that is encrypted in it. So we're basically minimizing the token to some user ID, and we're now using that access token to get sensitive data from backend. So basically, this access token is like the key when you carry it around, and if you need something sensitive, you go with that key and unlock some sensitive data, and the backend side gives it to you. So for now, let's just keep the access token in the browser, and I will show you what's going on later. But now let's move on to refresh token. Refresh token, they do not have to be signed with any user data because this is just a ID that is used to generate the access token. And here are some crucial things. You are generating some random ID, and then you're generating the token ID, so the second one. So basically, refresh token has two IDs, and one of them is hashed. This is important part because you always have to hash the token and store it in database. This is not mandatory, but it is a good practice for scaling your application and for security basis. So when you have hashed the one part of the token, you save it in database, and you simply return the single token. One of the parts is hashed, and further you set that hashed token to the cookie, and it's not the simple cookie. This is HTTP only cookie, and this is really must have because you have to store refresh tokens in HTTP only cookie because it is used to, as I said, generate new access token. And if this is leaked, anyone can generate access tokens all the time, and your service can be compromised. So let's go through cookie options. The path here represents the path on which the cookie is attached to. So if you put just a slash, all routes will have the cookie. HTTP only always true because, as I said, it has to be like that because HTTP only cookie cannot be read by JavaScript on the client. Same side, it can be strict, lax, and none. Strict is for best security. Basically, in simple words, if you put the strict value, you have to have the domain of the front end and the back end basically the same. And if you put lax, you can use subdomains neither on either of those. And if you put security has to be always true, so you're using HTTPS connections. And the max age is basically how long the token is valid for. And we're setting the cookie to and the refresh token to HTTP only cookie. And a little bit more about the refresh tokens and why do you need to store them in database? So the main reason is to manually revoke the token. So for example, you might have seen the emails from some services like Google when they send you an email and asking like, was it you that have been logged into that browser from that location? And if it's not you, you can revoke the token. So manually you go to the settings of your account and you delete the token and log out from all the devices. And another reason is rotation tracking. For example, when you log in, you set the token to database, and when you log out, you mark that token as invalid or deleted. And this keeps to handle the security even better because the token always refreshes. So if one token is leaked and you log out, it is not valid anymore. So another reason is custom expiration logic. For example, if you're using Telegram, you might have seen the setting that says log me out if I'm inactive for 1 month, for example. And this is done because of that. So let's go further and recap what we have achieved for now. We have validated the user email and the password. We have generated 2 tokens and hashed the refresh token, saved it to database, and set it to HTTP only cookie. And we have returned the access token, which has the user ID to the browser. Now, let's move to the browser and see how things are going on there. So, after everything, after all that work on the backend, we have received the token by our front-end application, and we have to store it somewhere. And important thing here is some people, and I've seen a lot of articles in web, actually people saying that you have to store or you can store access tokens in local storage. And this is really not good because it is a bad practice, and local storage can be easily accessible by any JavaScript. So if you're using some sensitive data to store in session storage or local storage, it is not going to be good in the future. So always store it in memory. It is way more safe because when you refresh the page, the token disappears, and you have to handle this as well. So we have received the token, and now we can redirect user to the page. But for example, we are already in our service, and we have to get the sensitive data from the backend as well. For example, user profile. And the backend side somehow needs to validate the user. It cannot be trusted, user cannot be trusted just because the backend has issued the token, but every time the request is made to the server, the backend has to validate that the user is the actual user that is asking for the information. So in this case, we're using the access token that the backend issued. And how to handle it conveniently, here comes interceptors. I'm using Access here, and Access helps us here a lot because you can use Access to send the token on each request to the backend. Also, you can handle 401 responses. I'll show you a code in a bit. So the first one, here on request, you take the token anywhere you have stored it, for example, in some global storage in your front-end application. And if the token is present, you are attaching it to authorization headers. And this request goes to the backend. And for example, there is a case when the token is invalid. For example, the time expiration has passed. And when we this time try to fetch the profile, for example, we receive the 401 response, which means unauthorized. So in that case, the refresh token comes into play. And when we have got the 401 response, we are doing the refresh. We're calling the refresh route, and that returns us a new token. And if the token is valid, we are again attaching it to the headers and proceeding with the failed request once again. If it is invalid, we simply log the user out. I'll show you how it works in a demo just now. So start. Okay, so this is our page. This is, as you can see, the public page. And anywhere on the internet, anyone on the internet can access this page. So, yep. Let's try to log in. As you can see, my cookie storage is cleared and I don't have anything here. Let's try to log in. We put the email here, we put the password here, and we press login. And as you can see, I have set the refresh token to my cookie. And also, as you can see, my login is successful, and the payload is the token, the access token I have issued. And here the profile page. When we navigate the profile page, we get the profile, the user profile, and we have received some sensitive data here. And what happens, for example, as I said, when the token is invalid? Let's switch the expiration time for 5 seconds. Restart the server. Okay. Now let's log out again. Log in back again. See profile. is all the requests are okay. Let's go to public page back again, and let's wait just for a second. And as you can see, 5 seconds has passed, and the first call is invalid because the access token was invalid. And here interceptors tried to refresh. The refresh route returns an access token, and the profile page returns the credentials. So this is a quick demo. For example, if the user logged out and you're trying to enter manually the profile page, you will be redirected because there is no tokens anywhere on the system, and you will be rejected. This was the basics ones, but I want to try to tell you more about some advanced stuff. So what is JWT? JWT consists of the header, the payload, and the signature. So the header is some metadata about the token and some algorithms that are used to hash it. For example, there are two kinds of algorithms, symmetric and asymmetric. So this one is symmetric algorithm, and the type is JWT. The payload consists of some data that we put in. So as you can see, ISS is issuer who issues the token. The audience is who receives the token, who this token is for. Sub is basically some information about the user. So don't put any sensitive information, as I said here, just basically the user ID. NBF, it is not before, so it has to be valid. It has to be valid until this time, not before, not in the future, basically. Issued at, it is when the token is issued, and expiration, and it is the value the token is valid until. So the best practice would be to check when you're validating the token, you have to check against all these values. If they all pass, then the token considered valid. And the signature, basically we encode this part, the header, we encode the payload, and then we're using some secret key to form the signature. And when all this work is done, we have the access token in return. So I want to talk about how the tokens are signed and how they are verified. This is really important. And if you're building like scalable architectural authentication services or any other ones, you have to know this. So there are two types of algorithms. So the symmetric ones and asymmetric ones. And the none, but you don't have to use it because it's not secure at all. So symmetric. The essence of it is to use one key to sign the token and the same key to validate the token. And the difference between symmetric and asymmetric is that asymmetric use public and the private key. So this is more secure because, for example, you have different services that are using the tokens. And for example, you have authentication service and some other backend that does all the API. And the backend API has to somehow validate the token. And to validate the token, it has to have some secret key. And if you're using symmetric algorithms, you have to share the secret key that it is used for signing and for verifying the token. And in case the token is compromised, the whole system is compromised because the same key is used for both things. In case of asymmetric ones, you are using the public key, which can be safely shared, but the private key always stays in one service and it must be kept secret. So some ways how to hack the system if the system is poorly configured. So one way, Some developers, maybe for test purposes, they do not verify the token. And what the attackers can do, for example, even if you have the valid credentials, the email and the password, you can log in and then you can take the token. As I said, the token is just basic objects. You can decode the token, get the header and the payload, and change, for example, the role. You were the basic user, now you're an admin. And now if the token is not verified on the backend, then the attacker can decode it back again and send it as an access token to retrieve the sensitive data. So in some cases, it might actually work. And a second one is about the header. The previous one was about the payload, and this one is about the header. So as I said, the header contains some metadata about some algorithms and the type. And if the backend relies only on the field on the value of the alg in the header, it can be changed, and attacker can change it to none. And if the backend doesn't verify it on its side, uh, the attackers can still change the payload and enter the website again. So luckily, I haven't been able to hack my own system. This is another reason for you to use proven libraries and keep them always up to date. So um, I've tried to cover like everything. There is quite a lot there, and I will try to push these changes of my implementation to the GitHub, and if you want, you can check it out, how I've implemented. Um, Basically, this is it. If you have any questions, I would try to answer them. So yeah, this was it.
Thank you, Ramazan. That was really nice. We had a lot of really positive comments about your demo on our chat, which is cool. I noticed that we also had like just people talking about the presentation as you were doing it, which, and also like some other topics, but it's very interesting. So, congrats. I don't, as you know, I'm not a tech person, so I don't really understand tech, but this, I could understand some things. So,
Fine.
kudos to you. We already have some questions here.
Okay.
So, the first question that we have, and if you have questions, please feel free to write them in the chat,
Mhm.
uh, is how do you prevent abuse of the refresher endpoint?
Um, Basically, there are some techniques. For example, Nest.js provides out-of-the-box solutions. So you can put some delays or some limits on how often people can uh, call the routes. For example, some throttlings and techniques like that. So, for example, if the attacker wants to call the API like hundreds of times in a minute, for example, it won't be possible. So you always have to put some limits on it.
Mhm.
I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, at least for me. How logout form all devices work?
Oh, yeah. Basically, if you keep the tokens, the refresh tokens in the database, each refresh token is assigned to the user ID. So basically, is able to have different tokens for different devices. And if you can configure actually on your side the implementation of revoking all the tokens. So you just have to find all the tokens related to that user and either delete them or marked as invalid. Basically, this is the rough idea of that.
Mhm. Cool. Okay. Then we have some comments of people saying, nice presentation. It was great. So congrats.
Mhm.
And then another question, which goes, as a front-end developer, how should we handle the refresh token? Should we do something or keep it in the cookies and let the backend handle it?
Um, No, actually, we are not anyhow storing the refresh token on the memory or in some storage on the front end. We're just relying on the HTTP only cookie because this is the safest place to store the refresh token. As I said, because it has longer life and it has to be kept in more secret. So
Okay.
you don't do anything with refresh on the front end.
Nice. Then we just have two more.
Mhm.
One of them is how large can a JWT safely be?
Okay. Uh, First of all, as I said, you don't have to put any sensitive information there. So it is basically consists of some metadata, as I said, like the timings and some user ID. And all that data, I would say should be about 2 kilobytes. So don't try to overcome that. It's really
Nice.
a tiny string, actually.
Thank you. And the last question before we move to the other speaker is what if the client's clock is out of sync with the server?
Oh, actually, this one's was a tricky one. I have actually implemented it, and some servers might have different timings, so you have to consider that. And for example, you can, when validating the token, you can put some extra seconds, for example, to the check, and you can add some maybe 30 seconds to the current time. So you have that gap in case the time is different on different servers.
Okay. Thank you so much, Ramazan. That was great. We had a lot of positive comments from our colleagues and participants. So thank you so much for that.
Thank
And now we're going to move to the second speaker, Luís. Luís is a senior front-end engineer at Liminal. He has 7 years of experience. He has worked with React, Vue, Angular, Node, and a lot of other things that I can't pronounce. He is the founder of Frontend Oppo, which is a front-end community in Porto. They've organized a lot of basically meetups similar to the Tech Talks in person in Porto. So you're more than welcome to follow along their journey and join one of their community meetups if you're ever in Porto. So, Luís, welcome, and please take the stage.
we
Thanks,
start and
Maria.
wish you good luck with your presentation.
Thanks, Ramazan. Appreciate that, man. So let me share my presentation. Great. So, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And also, many thanks to Devexperts for the invitation for this amazing event. In this talk, we're going to explore design systems. And of course, we can talk about anything nowadays without mentioning without mentioning AI. So it's self-explanatory. So as I have a great presentation, my name is Luis. I'm a senior software engineer at Liminal, and I work directly on the intelligence platform for complex markets and regulated industries, Link. And as Maria said, I'm also the organizer and co-founder of Frontend Oppo, a tech community here in Porto, and we often have some meetups and events. So for who's live here in Porto, you're more than invited, and Devexperts already hosted us, by the way. So, the difference between the old web like 15, 20 years ago and the modern web is how the websites gain life. The UI and UX became something really important for the companies, and that's why we had a boom in web development. But now that everyone can take an idea from the paper to the screen in one prompt, I believe some important steps are being skipped. It's very easy to spot an AI-generated platform. They all look the same. The same fonts, the same grid, the same addiction to using gradients, and so on. This happens because, in summary, AI generates the most common way of doing something and not the best one. It feels like when Mr. Krabs replaced SpongeBob with a lot of machines. The generating process was accelerated, but inside tastes great. And in a market where everyone can actually create stuff, what will differ a gray hamburger from a real crab patty is if it tastes good. And in software products, the easiest way to achieve this is having a visual identity that is clear, that is pleasant for your customers, and singular. These three pillars are essential to communicate your product mission for your client. It has to visually express your message. And in my opinion, the easiest way to understand how it works in the real world is just looking at this small piece of web app, where there are only a few components and colors and text, but everyone knows which company it is and the message that the company wants to forward to us. I know it may seem intimidating at first, but it always easy when we start from the smallest piece of your app, the atom. Like in our bodies, atoms are the basic building blocks of all matter. Just a disclaimer, this is a hard simplification, but for the sake of the analogy, let's ignore it. In an app, the atoms of our interfaces are the basic building blocks that make up all of our user interfaces, like buttons, form labels, inputs, and so on. So the foundation of our visual identity will always start here. And when we group up all these atoms to reuse them, describe them, document them, test them, we have a design system, a library of components with our product branding. And you can say, yeah, but this is only for the product and design team. Real devs don't care about branding. Maybe, but this is a red flag in my opinion. Devs also have to have ownership. But a design system can also speed up work by reducing decision making and rework. So teams can focus on solving real user problems instead of reinventing the UI. Great. I think everyone now knows that having a design system is amazing, but how it looks like in, of course, the front-end point of view. First of all, let's use the GitLab design system as a reference. So it all starts with tokens. I like to think that tokens are like protons or neutrons of our atom. It's the value that will tell us how the atom looks like. For example, colors, border radius, and so on. Of course, we have the star of the show, the components, and an important part, the pattern definitions. The design system is where the dev and the design team will define how to deal with some UX situations that actually they're not atoms itself, but they are smaller pieces of some flow. For example, how our app will deal with empty states in tables or searches and loading states if you're going to show a spinner, a skeleton, where we have to show it, and so on. Last but not least, a documentation explaining how the development and research process works, how to contribute to the design system, and so forth. And finally, the testing area, where we have our components isolated for manual and auto testing. Nice. So based on this anatomy, let's build a design system using AI tools for helping us. For the components, we're going to use ChatCN, a library that provides headless components. In other words, we're going to focus on styling the component and let ChatCN deal with the component functionality. It's very useful to not waste time building the complex components like calendars and drawers. and it works perfect with Tailwind, and it has their cool on CLI for scaffolding the components. Of course, we're going to use Storybook for documentation and testing. And our AI toolchain will work around Cursor, which can also easily be replaced by any other AI tool like Cloud Code or Windsurf. But yeah, let's use Cursor. We will make an extensive use of its three best features: the agent mode, the custom rules, and the MCP support for communicating with the ShadCN registries. So, the agent mode, what is it? It's very simple. You describe the task in natural language, like we usually talk with the AI. The agent reads your project, plans the steps, and explains what it will change. It can edit multiple files, create new ones, and update tests or configuration as needed. It can run also terminal commands, installing dependencies, running builds, execute scripts, and actually verifying the results. It shows the diffs, asks for confirmations when appropriate, and lets us revise the plan. We can pause, we can adjust the instructions, and also roll back changes at any point. The goal of the agent mode is to turn high-level requests into concrete edits and commands across all of our code base. It focuses on end-to-end in the AI development. The custom rules, that also a very cool feature, they are instructions that tell the editor which standards and conventions it needs to follow. They cut down some AI hallucinations and keep the generated code consistent and in a higher quality. We can define the global rules that apply to all projects, and also the project rules that is the project rules stored in .mdc files and checked into the project repository. The agent that I have mentioned reads these rules before any generating or editing code and uses them to guide its changes. And also the MCP, Model Context Protocol. It is a contract for how an AI assistant discover tools, ask to use them, and get the results. The server, in our case, the ShadCN registry, expose capabilities, tools, resources, prompts, and the client that could be any AI tool, in our case, Cursor, but could be like Cloud Code, Cloud Code, ChatGPT, or any other, lists them, calls them, and logs what happened. This is a very simplification, and I have this source here, and if you are curious to know more about MCPs. So now it's time to bootstrap our own design system. First of all, let's generate a TypeScript React project using Vite, not frameworks, please, no frameworks. Then let's add the Storybook using their own CLI. It's a very, very cool feature. It can add all the cool stuff for documentation, local testing with vtest and Playwright, and the collaborative visual testing with Chromatic that I will show it later. For the ShadCN configuration, let's add Tailwind first, then configure the ShadCN aliases on both tsconfig and vitconfig, and finally run the ShadCN CLI to initialize it in our project. It's going to check our dependencies and add the libraries and CSS configurations automatically. And finally, let's take a look on how it works in practice. Let's use Cursor to generate the component, the test and story, and after edit it. So I will stop share the presentation. And give me a sec. We'll share my screen. So just a first disclaimer, this is a demo using AI, and we know that AI is not, it doesn't respond like the same answer always. So let's uh, cross our fingers and let's see if it works. So first, I have here my design system bootstrapped with all the configurations that I set, and also I removed the useless files that came with the initial V bootstrap. And I also use the ShadCN CLI to generate a button component. I didn't make any change to it, and that's it. So uh, important files that we need to take a look before going to AI. The index.css in the most recent version of Tailwind and ShadCN, it's where we're gonna define our tokens that I mentioned before in the talk. So here it's where I'm defining as CSS variables the border radius, the colors, and so on and so forth. So, and it's also where I import Tailwind. It's the default configuration for Tailwind, but this is very important to know when we are bootstrapping a design system. And also regarding the storybook, the main .cs, that is an entry point for storybook. It's where we define the add-ons and where we tell storybook which framework we are using, because you can use storybook with any framework, any library, any front-end library, and so on. We have the preview file, that is where we define global configurations for rendering the stories in the storybook canvas. So we can define global decorators, parameters, and so on. And also, it's very important to see that any global CSS that we have, it's important to import it here at the preview file. And also we have this third file that is just a helper to make the connection between the vtest and the storybook to make it possible to run it on the storybook UI. Great. Now that we know and we checked all these initial files, let's go into the AI part, the AI phase. I think that's why you guys are so hyped for this talk. So first of all, let's add the ShadCN MCP, and this is incredibly easy. So I will only need to go to the ShadCN documentation and choose the which AI tool I'm using. So it's cursor, and which npm tool that I'm using. I'm using pnpm as in this project. I will just copy the npx command and paste it. It will install dependency into my project here. No, not a dependency, sorry, a folder with this mcp.json file, because I don't have this file yet. And this is a file, anything inside .cursor folder. Obviously, it's configurations for and only for cursor, unfortunately. Uh, Unfortunately, in AI, we have this kind of locking, but whatever. And here in the mcp.json, it's where we gonna define to cursor AI, to cursor built-in AIs, which servers we have enabled to make the calls and get context from. So here I only have the ShadCN, and it's pretty much it. So let's jump to the custom rules. For this project, I will set only 2 rules. So the custom rules are very nice and very cool to give more context and instructions for our AI, but uh, also in everything in AI world, it costs tokens. So it's not so good to define so many a lot of rules, and the rules need to be always concise and very direct for not not get the value of the token so much. So great. As I said, I'm going to generate two rules. The first one regards to the component generation, and the second one to help the AI edit and improve the current components into the design system. So to generate rules in Cursor, it's very easy. It has a lot of ways for doing this. I will press Command Shift P and write new cursor rule. It will open this this dialog that I will to put the file name. I will call it component. And yeah, before we start to start writing the rules, there is something that we need to pay attention for. That is cursor ask to us define where when the AI agents and the AI tools will get this rule to be applied to the response. So we have a lot of options here, but the most important is they always apply it to in every interaction that we have with the chat and the agent. It will read the rule before the thought process and the response generation. So this is you have to be careful using this because it, as I said, it costs tokens. We can ask to apply to only specific files and to define it, we can write a regex here like .tsx, but there's something very cool that if we write some typo or some regex that doesn't match any file in our project, it will throw this error. So it's very cool. And also the apply manually, that actually it's the best option because you can choose when the AI will use these rules. So for the sake of the presentation, I will leave the always apply. And also, of course, I will not waste our time writing the rules because they already written before. And this is very important. The rules is something that you have to waste time building it because it can improve it a lot of the AI responses. So the rule, it's very simple and direct. As I said, I'm asking the AI to do not search the web for the components and for how the components that has been generated works and so on and so forth, and to only use the MCP. And that's it. And also a cool thing that I'm asking AI is if I ask the agent to generate a component that actually doesn't exist uh, into the ShadCN registry, the AI will think in a suggestion if this component could be built uh, with the two already existing component combinations, or it could exist into ChadCN registry, but I'm using another name. For example, if I'm asking for a toggle, but it exists as a switch and so on. I'm specifying here the how I want the component layout in the file structure, the story, some storybook rules, some coding rules for the component and the CSS and variants and TypeScript. Uh, the This is very important too. The testing rules, I'm asking to the agent not only generate the component, but also creating an almost 100% coverage test for it. This checklist and this prompt snip, this is a good pattern for the rules that you can put like a prompt example that you don't need to actually write this into the chat. Just write very simple, and it will be applied to the rule. So great. Based on these rules, let's try to generate the component. So fingers crossed, and let's open our chat. So I will close this one, and to check if some rule has been applied to the current opened chat, you can check at here in this icon. So this ruler is the where the rules are placed, and I will give to AI a very simple instruction: generate a switch component, and let's see if it works. So the first steps, the agent is making requests to the MCP and getting the responses. It's examining the the ex, the button that already exists, and also very important, never let AI run commands in your terminal. I think everyone knows this. So it's asking for installing the base of our component. I will let AI for doing this and create the folder and so on. It will probably take some time, but it will work. And I will let to check the files and the code, the generated code, only for to the only when it's done. Okay, so let's wait some time for drinking water. Yeah, it's generating the test. Great, thanks. Okay, great. All the files has been generated, and now probably it could start to go into some infinite loop of trying to solving test problems uh, and linked problems. As you guys are seeing, we are facing some testing problems, but it's just let it go. That and now, last but not least, it will try to build the storybook to check if there is an error, and voila, our switch component has been generated. Let's see the component. It has some errors like using directives here, but it's okay because it's using the use client. We have some prettier errors that it's very easy to fix. It's just fixing using the cursor or VS Code UI. So we have the test, we have the stories, okay. It has make this mock into our VTest setup, so it's also very cool. So let's keep all and check Storybook. So let's run the Storybook file. Next, we have our button and we have our switch. It seems like everything's fine. We have the actions, we have the controls, the auto docs. We have pretty examples here. Very, very cool. Thanks to AI. Great. Now you present this to your manager and they say like, yeah, but I need 3 variants for the switches, and say, okay, thank you, design folks. So let's add the rule for editing the current React code. So I will call it as React. As I mentioned it, I will copy here So some more focused on the code itself rules. So use TypeScript strict for the ref as child is lots and so on and so forth, to use CVA to build variants, and that's it. Great. So now let's get back here at our components. I said it's just a prettier, so nice. Let's sorry, no, not a new chat. Let's add this guy here at the context and ask, please, hey, I want a smaller and a larger variant for switch. And let's see if AI can handle this very simple task, but it's also very important. Okay, it's using CVA, so it's good. The rules are working. Now it will update the test, so it takes a little longer. Okay, found. I think I'm back. My headphone turned it off. So probably we are in a AI hell, like always. But let's see what we have. I think we have everything. Just some errors on testing, but it's okay. It's demo problems. It's well-known problems here at Stories. Great, let's keep all and wait for this. But we can see here at the storybook that now we have the variants that we asked for. And this variance doesn't exist in ChatCN. It's not supported by ChatCN, and we are updating the component as we need. So for AI, that's it. We already break the the cursor here. So let's keep all, and let's do the last part of this demo that it's also very important. This is the testing part. So as I showed to you guys, that we can now run tests here into the Storybook UI. But we have two tests here. The first one is the test that we are more familiar with. That is the unit test. That it's called interactions tests. We have the coverage that we can turn on or turn off, and also a very cool part that is the accessibility test. So if you care about accessibility, we can press the play here. We have the problem with the tests here. Thank you, AI. You broke my. Let's make the quick fix here. Okay. So Oh no. Okay, I will delete this test for the sake of the demo. But yeah, we have the button test. So that's the important part. Let's try again. Oh no. We have problems with the setup. Thanks. Thanks. Okay. Now it will work. Now we can see some cool things on the accessibility part that we in the Storybook UI now we have some uh, some accessibility errors with the indication which is the error. So for example, here at the icon buttons, we have the element does not have an inner text, rel label attribute does not exist, and so on. And also we have the visual test that is combined with chromatic that will improve our review and component building a lot. So I will run, as we can run it. So I can go here at the normal button and see the visual tests here. I can run it. No, I will stop it because it takes a long. So we can see that the button looks exactly the same. But if I will go here at the button and change the background to, let me see, this color, for example, so change, and we play the visual test, let's wait, it will work like an end-to-end test. So we'll build all and snapshot test actually. So we will build the snapshots of the components, and chromatic will get these snapshots and will compare with the latest version. And if it exists any visual difference, it will trigger that is a change. And we can go into the change and we can integrate these review process to our team, because here I can see the two difference. I can comment stuff here, I can approve or deny, and I also can tag things here. So it's also very cool. I love chromatic. I think it's very cool. That's why I'm mentioned this. So after I mock with our demo, let's get back to the summary part of our talk. Let me share my screen again. Nice. Great. So I think we could do that. AI can help us in the whole building process, from get an idea off the ground to actually give a life to it. It can also help us to improve the product through its life cycle, right? But we will always have to have our eyes open to the details and make the changes and improvements that only a good developer, a product manager, or a designer can make. I, in my opinion, the main point here is don't let AI models make decisions for you. Use it as a tool. In a world where anyone can easily create things, be the one who does well what the tool cannot achieve. And that's it, guys. Thank you. Sorry for the AI problem on demo. And if you want to connect with me, there is here my LinkedIn, my Twitter, and also my website that is pretty simple. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luís. That was really insightful. I also really like that you use SpongeBob as an example. That was pretty cool.
I love it. I love it.
Same. We do have a question, but if you guys have some questions, please make sure to write them down in the chat so we can ask them. But we have a question that is, are there other benefits to building a design system besides product branding?
So yeah, I think uh, the design system, it's a collaborative project between the product design team and the front end team. So I think most of the benefits are shared by both things in different scenarios, but they're pretty the same. For example, the using a design system, you have a faster delivery via the reusable components and shared tokens. But this can it can apply to the front end part, as I showed here with the storybook and the component itself that we gonna build it and import it in our actual project and use them. But it can also be applied to the design part via Figma. For example, it helps a lot. The design is in Figma to have the design system as a project itself in Figma, and also it's easier to maintain and scale because one fix to a component updates many surfaces and reduce the design debit. And also, as I said, the designers and developers love it. It it help it helps the collaboration and alignment across the both teams.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. There's another question that is, has using AI ever been a problem with your manager? I'm scared I might jeopardize my job if my manager sees me using these tools.
Uh, I think uh, I think AI for developers is a problem only in the studying part because i- it's very easy to use AI to bypass some uh, paths that you need to take to better understand something or to learn something. In our work, I think the managers needs to encourage us to use AI to help our productivity. You know, for example, in my company, they give us all the support for using AI to help us, not replace us, but help us for better building the product. So I think we need to use we must use AI in our daily work. And for the downsides of AI, we need to increase our uh, code review process, the code quality process, uh, and also improve the ownership and collaboration between the developers. But if your manager doesn't like AI tooling for building the product, I think they need to change their minds because this is something that already in our world it's impossible to fight against it. I think we need to learn to how to use it in a better way.
Of course, I agree. Yeah, it goes both ways. Well, I feel like managers need to adapt, but I do understand why sometimes employees can be a bit scared. But yeah. We have another question that goes, should we create a design system every time? Because I like to follow the best practices and any workaround may corrupt the behavior, so I'm trying to avoid it.
Okay, could you please? Could you repeat,
So,
please? I I lost in the
no, of
middle.
course.
I got lost in the middle.
So
Sorry.
actually, this is quite a long question, so it's normal.
Yeah.
It goes, should we create a design system every time? Okay, so now they sent the second part, but basically this is the question. Should we create a design system every time? And then they go, because I like to follow the best practices and any work around may corrupt the behavior, so I'm trying to avoid it. I simply use the base SHAB CN component because I like them, but I need to rearrange the pointer events, etc. all the time.
Yeah,
Leads
I
me to
got
the
it.
design system. Should I have to create? Isn't it too much?
Okay, long question.
Yes.
Thanks for the question. So regarding the first part, I don't think so. I think nothing in the web world, on the programming world, is a silver bullet. So if you were building if you're building like a micro SaaS or a very small product, there's no need for a design system at all, I think, because it could be over engineering. But even for small products, that's not micro SaaS, but if your product is a little bit uh, uh, larger than a very micro product, I think could be very helpful because, as I said, it helps the design team and also helps the dev team in all terms to reusable components for have a source of truth of your product branding, because if you want to have a successful product, you need to have a product branding. You cannot use a generic uh, visual identity. You know, I know that ChatCN could be very helpful for very small pieces of web apps or web products, and I agree. Uh, but I believe if you have like a 5 people team, a 6 people team, and 100 of clients, it could be helpful. And also another uh, good point to have at Science System is if you have a company that is not the same product. You know, for example, you have a company and you have a product. If you want to launch another product, the design system can be used in this new product, and you will avoid a, a a part of the bootstrap of this new product because you already all the small components for it, even if it's a different product. But yeah, you already have a source of truth of your product branding, of your visual identity. I don't know if it answered the question, but if it's not, feel free to reach me out and we
Yeah,
along the conversation.
sounds good. So one last question is, how would you go about converting HTML, CSS, JS project to React on Cursor or Windsurf?
So sorry, what?
How would you go about converting
Okay.
HTML, CSS, JS project or React on Cursor or Windsurf?
Uh, okay. So there, I think there are two parts in my answer. The first one is uh, migrating things is painful. So think it if it's worth it, because uh, I don't I don't see too many benefits of migrating something that actually it's in vanilla JS that is very good. You don't need a framework or a library. So if your product's already in this technology, there's no need, I think, in my opinion, in a lot of cases, to migrate from the vanilla to React. So talking about migrating things with AI. Uh, you have to take the most advantage possible from the agents and rules, and yeah, and do the and try to divide the migration process into modules and migrate these modules each one, because we have a big problem in using AI for longer and huge tasks. It is that it we feel that AI starts to be tired. You know, it's in the most you ask for that the same instance of, for example, the chat into cursor, like in the fourth or fifth uh, interaction, the AI tends to hallucinate more and more. I'm not an AI engineer, but this is something that we are uh, we are facing, even with this new good AI models and the agent modes and the improving into cursor, for example. So for any migration, I always recommend to split in the smaller pieces possible and try to interact the less that you can with the agent or with the model itself to avoid hallucinations, because when the hallucination starts, you need to, you know, break the process, open another instance, another conversation with that model, and give the context again. And as I said, use the rules, use the agent to contextualize the the AI, the model, the agent.
Cool. Thank you so much, Luís, and thank you all so much for joining our dxTechTalk today. We are opening the call for papers for the 2026 season. Yes, I almost forgot what year it was. So if you want to apply, you can go to our landing page and apply to become a speaker either online or one of our offices. So yeah, I hope to see you. We're going to have another dxTechTalk online next month. So keep an eye on our socials because we're going to announce everything there. And thank you to our speakers, Luís and Ramazan. And I will see you guys very soon. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.